Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. Last time we left off after completing an EXALT covert extraction mission, during which we also had our first run-in with EXALT elite soldiers. But we took care of them, unlocked the Regenerate This achievement and then immediately faced the next mission as we ended the episode after spotting a landed abductor UFO in the USA. Now, before we jump right into that mission, however, we have to take care of some building today, because I asked you guys for your opinion on building the psionic labs, and the vast majority of you were in favor of it, so that's what we'll do right now. And we'll do something that might seem a little bit strange here, because as you can see, facility space is an increasingly rare commodity in our base, and for that reason we will actually demolish the power generator over in the top right corner here. That reduces our power output by 10 units, but still leaves us 16 to work with, but more importantly, it opens up a space where we will now build the psionic labs. And don't worry, in the long run we won't need all of these power generators anyway, but there are also quite a few other facilities that I have planned for the lowest level of the base. So, the psionic labs are a fairly straightforward facility, not unlike the gene labs. Once they're built, we can send soldiers over there for psionic testing, and if they do in fact possess psionic abilities, those can then be unlocked and assigned just like the regular skill tree. With a price tag of 200 credits, the psionic labs are definitely not cheap, and as you can see here, construction will take 14 days, but then again the benefit that a psionically gifted soldier offers on the battlefield cannot be understated, especially since psionic abilities are just like gene modifications added onto these soldiers' already existing skills. Now, with construction underway and me just talking about space, we have one more thing to do here, and that is to spend 80 credits to excavate that second to last spot next to the thermal generator. Due to the adjacency bonuses, that is where we will eventually build ourselves an Illyrium generator, which will then likely make quite a few more of our regular power generators obsolete. And with all of that out of the way, I think we can now take care of the next mission.
Contact detected.
As I said, we have a landed abductor UFO in the United States, and because the UFO has landed, we will likely meet some heavy resistance, so let's prepare our troops accordingly. And yes, we will in fact take heavy Kim Lupai with us on this mission as well. I think with a rocket launcher and 2 grenades she can do a decent amount of damage despite only being a squaddie. We will also re-equip Adam with the arc thrower, maybe we'll get a chance to capture another alien on this mission. I had briefly thought about putting the arc thrower on Emilia because of her larger movement range, but that would leave her without a secondary way of dealing damage, and as we get further into the game, staying flexible on the battlefield will be increasingly important. With her Deep Pockets ability, she can even carry 2 grenades in one slot, and with everyone equipped and ready to go, let's begin our mission.
Roger that, Big Sky. Strike 1, you are green to deploy. Approach with extreme caution. Current enemy status at the site is unknown.
Alright, we have landed in the forest, although this looks like a bit of a clearing here with not a lot of full cover around. The silhouette of the alien UFO can already be seen from here, so we know where to go. Now, we want to start things off with Adam, as usual, and there are really only 2 ways to begin here if we want to get him cloaked and into full cover. One would have him run more or less parallel to the ship, the other would have him advance near the edge of the map, and since that second option brings us closer to the UFO while protecting our left flank, let's go with that one.
Copy that.
The first move does not reveal anything, so we can keep moving to see a bit more of the ship, including the first melt container. Now, as usual, the rest of the squad will run up to Adam's position without advancing further than him. Just one more tile could potentially reveal enemies hidden in the shadows, and especially this early in the mission we want to proceed with caution. While Emilia keeps her eyes open for hostiles, the alien's turn passes by. We do not see any movement yet, but get a reminder of the melt's position, so let's have Adam dash over there.
Roger, Dodger. Visual on the goods.
He won't be able to grab it on this turn, but still hidden, he safely scouts ahead and reveals that the area appears to be clear, so let's have the rest of our squad join up. With Chryssalids here, we can't do much more but to hunker down. Switching to the pistol to go on Overwatch would have been another option, but I have a tendency to forget to switch back.
Quiet. Did you hear something?
Now we hear movement and also roughly locate the second melt container, but as we have already grabbed the first, we should get a little more cautious now.
It's been secured.
Ahead of us we have two energy fields leading into areas to the left and right, and in the middle we have a corridor that goes up, eventually overlooking those two areas. Needless to say, the high ground in the middle is where I would prefer to go, so let's see if it has any surprises for us in store. Well, that is not the case, but now you can see a bit more clearly what lies behind the two doors. Once again, our troops will now advance up to Adam's position as we set up a formation that should hopefully be able to deal with enemies coming from any of the 3 access points ahead of us. And here we go with our first group of hostiles, 3 Chryssalids to be exact. However, one of them comes a little too close to Adam, triggering his close combat specialist. With 7 points of damage, the first Chryssalid here is almost taken out in one single shot, and only now does this group of enemies actually activate, which causes them to move again, triggering the same ability again as well. And this time it hits a second target, also doing 7 points of damage, so we are left with a more than manageable situation. And because we want to give as many kills as possible to our squaddie Kim Lupai, we'll send her in first and have her take a high percentage shot at one of the already injured opponents. Up next, we can then switch over to Adam, who can use rapid fire to take care of Chryssalid number 2. And for the third and final enemy, we'll use Emilia, who has herself a guaranteed hit here as well. And that's it, all 3 hostiles are down, the rest of our squad can now go on Overwatch and we can see what the aliens come up with.
It appears the aliens have outfitted the sectoid creature we previously encountered with some form of mechanized body armor. This was likely an effort to improve their combat power. We should exercise caution.
Alright, looks like things are about to get a bit more dicey here, as we have not 1 but 2 Mechtoids appear, one of them accompanied by 2 Sectoids, the other one by a Sectoid Commander. And unfortunately, all of our reaction shots were going against the Sectoid, by far the weakest enemy on screen right now, unsurprisingly resulting in an instant kill, however one that doesn't really give us much of an advantage. Now, the first problem here is that both Mechtoids are on Overwatch, so we can't really move with anyone here as long as both of them are still standing, because even Adam is only safe from 1 reaction shot. So to start things off, we will not move at all and take 2 shots with Andrea here. Her bullet swarm ability allows her to shoot twice in 1 turn if she doesn't move.
Negative ammo. I'm spent.
Both shots connect, doing 10 points of damage each for a grand total of 20, leaving the enemy with a much more manageable 4 hit points. Now, before we go for the kill, we'll shift our attention over to the other group of enemies, and here we'll start things off with a rocket from Kim Lupai. Interestingly enough, however, we do get a friendly fire warning, and I'm not quite sure if you'll be able to see that in the video, but in the shadows, slightly to the right of the Sectoid Commander, you might be able to see the second melt container. But luckily, we can simply aim a little higher to get that one out of the blast zone.
Launching.
So, 6 points of damage dealt to both enemies. Let's switch it over to Chryssalids now, who can go for the guaranteed headshot on the Sectoid Commander.
X-ray neutralized.
That is the kill, and we can now use double tap to fire again, and we will of course do that, and take aim against the Mechtoid standing further in the back.
X-ray down.
Alright, another 6 points of damage, leaving this guy with 12. And now it's time for Mech Trooper Mahoney to shine, who, despite a guaranteed hit against the Mechtoid on our left, will take the slightly more risky shot. That one connects, and Nicholas can also fire twice per turn, so let's try the whole thing again. Wonderful, that removes another high-level enemy from the equation, and we can now move over to Adam, who has sadly run out of shotgun ammo but can also use a grenade to get the next kill here.
Frag out.
Alright, now let's not forget that the first Mechtoid came accompanied by 2 Sectoids, and so far we have only killed off 1, but I have a pretty good idea where number 2 might be hiding.
I'm rolling.
Yep, I thought I saw something moving over there earlier, and now we have Emilia in a fantastic position to eliminate another alien. That ends our turn, but it looks like we have more trouble to deal with right away, as yet another Mechtoid enters the battlefield accompanied by 2 more Sectoids. Now, the big problem here is that Emilia is currently being flanked and she can't move out of that position because that would trigger the Mechtoid's overwatch. So instead we have to first move over with Adam here. He will be moving stealthily though and not trigger reaction fire, but if he moves again from his current position, the enemies will actually see him, break his stealth, and the Mechtoid will fire.
Affirmative. That all you got?
Lightning reflexes luckily forces the shot to miss, and with that we have Emilia in the clear. She can now safely retreat back into full cover, and with that we have actually created a situation where the Mechtoid can't see any of our soldiers, and we'll use that to our advantage now by setting up a nice overwatching ambush.
Reloaded.
Somewhat surprisingly, however, none of the 3 enemies actually reveal themselves, so let us once again take a small peek with Adam. He goes cloaked and only sees a single Sectoid, which can't see him, so we don't have to attack just yet. Instead, we will lie in wait for just one more turn, while simultaneously we will start sending Kim Lupai here over to the other room, because that is where we detected the second melt container earlier. With only 2 turns left to grab it and no enemies in sight, we can move her a little bit closer, before we then get everyone else ready for the next turn. Nicholas can advance ever so slightly up the ramp here, but not all the way to the top. That way he will still remain out of sight for anyone on the level above him. Now on the alien's turn we see that one Sectoid we had an eye on leave the area as well, which means we currently have no visible hostiles in range, so let us instead grab the melt while we have a chance.
On my way. Been secured.
Now, with all enemies currently out of sight, we have no other choice but to start looking for them, and who would be better suited for such a task than Mr. Adam Work? Rushing him into full cover reveals a bit of the area that lies beyond, but interestingly enough, no enemies, but at least that means that we can now relatively safely draw the rest of our squad up to his position as well. Sniper Wargull will position himself with a clear line of sight at that door ahead of him, while Emilia and Andrea will grab full cover positions. With Resilius we can then also deploy a battle scanner because we can just barely make it over to the doorway. And look here, surprise surprise, we do actually find one of the Sectoids. For the moment, however, we can't really do much about it, so let's simply activate a few overwatches and see how the aliens respond. Well, it looks like the chase has to continue as the Sectoid once again retreats further away from us, so let's follow suit and bring everyone a bit closer to that doorway. Adam once again safely scouts ahead and as expected does not detect anyone, so we can now once again move up with the rest of our squad as well.
What the hell was that?
Just a little bit of noise is then all we get on the alien's turn, so our search continues, and as we send Adam further into that direction the sectoid went, we do in fact discover that, or maybe also the other sectoid, hiding behind a tree. What's more, we also see a faint blue glimmer between the sectoid and Adam, indicating that both the other sectoid and the Mechtoid are somewhere in that area, and that they have mind merged. And because we don't want to reveal ourselves to all three enemies just yet, we'll have to play this a little carefully, but we can get at least one kill here by moving up with Emilia and then using one of her grenades against the sectoid behind the tree. In hindsight, it probably was a good decision not to give her the arc thrower. Once again, our remaining soldiers can now move up a bit, but we want to keep them in the center of this platform to avoid alerting the hostiles and to also be able to activate a few overwatches at the end of the turn. We will not activate Overwatch with Adam, by the way, because he is stealthed and a bit closer to the enemies than the rest of the group, and that has a small chance to lead to complications. Now, on the alien's turn, we see two things. First of all, we see the Mechtoid moving back to the front of the ship, so away from our current position, but luckily at least the sectoid decides to waltz right into our trap and consequently gets itself killed. So that leaves us with 24 hit points worth of Mechtoid, time to start things off with another rocket from Andrea.
Boom.
Because she has the heat ammo ability, the shot does 9 points of damage instead of 6, but of course we're far from done, so let's have Emilia take a shot next. With a guaranteed hit, she does 4 more points of damage, and now we can move up Mech Trooper Mahoney. Unfortunately though, despite his position looking promising, he can't actually see the Mechtoid from here, but with only 11 hit points left on the enemy, that small mistake does not hurt us too much. We can now simply use run and gun with Adam to stealth up all the way into the Mechtoid's face, and then use 1 or maybe 2 shots to likely get ourselves the kill. Alright, 1 critical hit does the job, and with that our chase is finally over. It appears though as if there are more enemies still on board, otherwise the mission would be over now. So let's keep everyone else together and activate a few more overwatches. No noise, no movement on the alien's turn, but I would say it's pretty likely that we have to advance further down the ship to find the next group of enemies. So let's start to bring everyone else a bit closer towards that energy field. And because it appears that we have a bit of breathing room here, we can also use this turn to get a few reloads in. The ammo conservation project in the foundry has not yet been completed, so at least for a few more days our soldiers will have to reload their weapons rather frequently. Once again, nothing on the alien's turn, so we can open up the energy field with Emilia, and interestingly enough, now she does actually pick up a noise.
What the hell was that?
It does not seem to come from the area ahead of us though, but probably from whatever lies behind that next energy field, so that energy field now becomes our soldier's destination for the rest of this turn. And since the aliens do not come out to greet us, let us see if we can't say hello ourselves.
Enemy spotted.
Alright, interesting situation here as we stumble upon 3 Sectoid Commanders. Definitely a respectable group of enemies, however one that is also not smart enough to avoid Adam's close combat specialist. The Sectoid Commander here is lucky that Adam misses the shot though, and so we are now left with 3 full health hostiles who all have psionic mind control abilities. And for that reason alone we should do all we possibly can to take them all out in one go, and in such a situation it is a good idea to start things off with a bang, namely with a grenade from squaddie Kim Lupai.
Grenade out.
This not only deals 5 points of damage to both enemies ahead of her, but also removes both of their covers, and that in turn paves the way for another guaranteed critical hit by Resilius. That's one enemy down, and Combat Rush now activates for the entire squad, and since we have a second shot due to double tap, we might as well use it even though the hit chance is not spectacular. It appears to be enough to land another guaranteed hit, however. Not really the result I had expected, but maybe making up for Adam's close-range miss earlier. Speaking of Mr. Work, he can now get himself up close and personal to eliminate Sectoid Commander number 2. And now it's only one enemy left, and that should be an easy task. Let's have our mech trooper take care of it.
Moving to position.
Excellent work. All objectives complete.
Alright, and there we are. 14 aliens have been killed, the abductor UFO has been cleared out, we have recovered both melt containers, and none of our soldiers got injured. A great result for a mission that started off with a bit of a challenge with those 2 Mechtoids, but in the end we successfully did what we came here to do, so let us return to the XCOM base.
I'm continually impressed by the efforts of our troops, Commander. Recovering this meld substance is crucial to our scientific pursuits.
Alright, despite yet another successful mission, including another kill, squaddie Kim Lupai does not receive a promotion yet. Looks like we'll have to be a bit patient with her. Our list of loot, on the other hand, does not disappoint in the slightest. Not only did we recover several alien corpses and useful materials, but also a handful of alien artifacts that we can now turn into cash. And that is actually what we'll do right away, hopping over to the grey market to sell the alien stasis tanks, alien surgeries and all of the damaged equipment. And all in all, that makes us a nice profit of 140 credits. Now, we could make the cut at this point, but I think we should be able to complete 1 or 2 smaller things around the base before the next mission pops up. And with the next gene modification just 1 more day away, I would say it's time to start scanning. Alright, looks like we have ourselves a request coming from Mexico, as the country is asking us for 6 EXALT sniper rifles. Now, conveniently enough, we have exactly 6 EXALT sniper rifles in storage, and in storage they serve absolutely no other purpose but to eventually be shipped off in one of these requests. So even though the reward of 30 credits is nothing to get overly excited about, we will of course dispatch the items immediately. And now we can continue scanning and likely see the completion of the gene modification and the ammo conservation foundry project. And indeed, there we are. Our soldiers now have about double the ammo capacity in all of their primary weapons, so reloading will be much less frequent in all subsequent missions. We can also see that our heavy Shoji-Jang has completed his gene modification procedure, and so I would say it's high time to send in the next candidate. Now, if we go to the gene labs and look at the list of soldiers, we can see that we have 6 soldiers who all already have gene mods. And that is almost good enough for another achievement, were it not for the fact that Sniper George Teasdale only has 1 gene mod. So he will be the next one to go to the labs, and he will receive the muscle fiber density gene modification. As a sniper, having the high ground is of course always advantageous, and even though he's currently wearing a skeleton suit with a grappling hook, we might switch to something a bit more protective down the line, and this gene mod will make sure that we can still reach most elevated positions with ease.
Thank you, Commander. I'll have the volunteer prepped and ready for surgery shortly. I'll send word when the procedure is complete.
Alright, the labs are busy again and we can continue scanning, as there is one more small thing that I would like to complete before the end of the episode. Alright, it is the evening of the 10th of July, and that is a good point to stop the scanning process, because with a 20-day construction period, it is about time that we order ourselves some satellites. With the satellite nexus being built, we have all the capacity that we need to launch the remaining 4 satellites at the end of the month, so 4 is the number that we'll purchase for a price tag of 220 credits. That also means that before the end of this month we will have satellite coverage over every single country in the XCOM project, which means we will no longer run into any abduction missions whatsoever. We do, however, have quite a few more days left before the month is over, so things will likely get interesting again soon enough. Now, for today, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut here. We have completed another very successful mission, and who knows what awaits in the next episode. So if you enjoyed today's video, then I would of course be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up, And if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course do that, either by subscribing to stay up to date, or by checking out and maybe pledging to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.